okay?
Yeah.
Or is this okay? Is this okay?
Okay.
Both good? All right, we'll go canvas. All right, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Clutch, for giving us this awesome space. Yeah, raise your hand if your office space is better than this one. Liar. Okay, nice. Yeah, this is absolutely awesome. We've been working for Clutch for a long time. Last time I was here, they showed me this space, and I'm like, this space looks awesome. What do you do here? And Tim, who's somewhere back there, said, oh, not much. We're like, would you like to do something here? And it took us a few years to figure it out, but we finally decided to do something here. So really appreciate the space. Really appreciate for everyone coming out. So here's our agenda today. We are a little bit late on the agenda. So about like 20 minutes, and we'll try to make up some time. So first I'm going to give a presentation a little bit about how to master B2B digital marketing, how we do digital marketing within SmartSites. Then we're going to give it over to MailChimp. Then we're going to have a panel, and then we're going to have happy hour. We got some food, we got some drinks that we're going to bust out, but you're going to have to be a little bit patient for that. So let's jump in. But before we do, actually, let's not jump in. Big thanks to our sponsors, not just Clutch who gave us the space, but we got MailChimp, who we've been working for a while. We love MailChimp. It's one of our really preferred email service providers, probably, obviously not probably, definitely our most preferred when it comes to B2B. We've been working with MailChimp for a while. This is our second event with MailChimp. MailChimp is kick-ass. Actually, the one thing I don't talk about in my slides is email marketing, because you're going to have a whole presentation on that, and I only have 30 minutes. So, but we do it. You can go do MailChimp by yourself. MailChimp is awesome, very easy to use, or we can help you out. Both work. FreshBooks, we've been using FreshBooks for like 10 years, our invoicing system. It's hard to imagine how we did invoices before FreshBooks. So if you have clients in the B2B space, if you send invoices, one thing I was skeptical about, where we're looking at invoice systems was cost. I'm like, listen, if I could just take credit cards ourselves, why would we go and have an extra layer and lose money? But in fact, you don't. Somehow magically the credit card fees went down, and we have the FreshBooks layer, and we save money. So it's very awesome. I recommend FreshBooks. So those are our sponsors, but I will talk to you about mastering B2B digital marketing. I'm going to start off with a personal story. I'm one of the co-founders of SmartSites. I'll tell you a quick few minutes about my story. We're going to go over some just overall themes and trends of B2B digital marketing, just to kind of get at the same page. Then we're going to talk about SEO, social media, pay-per-click. I'm going to give you a lot of, we're going to start out with overall, right, big, broad views, and then we're going to give you some very specific tricks and tips. So depending on where you are in your journey, what you do for your company, some parts will be relevant, some parts will be super relevant. So exciting, and then closing thoughts, and I'll try to go quick because we do have a big agenda. We're starting a little bit late, but that's okay. This is me. So I started digital marketing, started websites when I was a teenager, maybe even preteen. And it was really a good time to get into it, right? Because I was in the space when this stuff was new, kind of like the dot-com bubble just burst. And then it was like a reawakening, and that's kind of when I came in. And it was a really good time to come in. But there was nothing like this in college, right? So when I went to look at college, I'm like, okay, there is no such thing as digital marketing college, and I'm like, is this for undergrad? So somehow I ended up doing this. I went to Cornell for hospitality, for hotel management. It was really, really useful actually, because it taught me how much I don't want to do it. And it really solidified that, hey, I really do want to do digital marketing, even though, again, back then it was not a field. I really realized, listen, this is where my passion is, and this is what I should look to do full time. And it really, I'm like, I got to figure this out quick. And what happened is I graduated a year early. Not because I got good grades, I got pretty shit grades, but I was able to graduate because I'm like, listen, I'm not brave enough to quit, but I could maybe just get through this as fast as possible. And when I did that, I started my digital marketing business. It was an SEO business, link building, which is a piece of SEO is what I started. And when I came time to graduate, I told him my brother's 6 years older. He worked at Publicis at the time in New York City. It's one of the big 4 marketing companies. And I said, Alex, why don't you quit your job and start this with me? And much to my parents' dismay, my mom called me, begging me listen, you're going to do this stupid thing, fine, but please don't let your brother do this. Do not drag him into it. He will follow you to it. Do not let him, don't do it. We did not listen. We did it, and the day after I graduated was when we opened SmartSites. So where we are today, we are one of the fastest growing companies in the world. We've been the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies for 9 years in a row. We have around 400 employees, 100 in the US, 300 worldwide. Forbes names us best SEO services. Clutch does too, we're all the way up there. And here's some of our teams, some of our team members here as well. And that's us. Okay, themes and trends. Okay. The B2B market is not too sexy right now, to be honest, right? Let's start there, right? It is not seeing exponential growth as you are in certain segments. When I do a similar presentation for e-commerce, you see e-commerce, the CAGR, the annual growth for e-commerce like 10 to 15%. You do not see that with B2B, okay? But there are certain segments in B2B where you're seeing good growth. And also, if you go into a market where you're not seeing good growth, you just have to make sure you have a really good UVP, right? A unique value proposition. By all means, even if it's something that's stagnant, you go in and say, listen, here's all the players, we do the same thing but twice cheaper, you can still grab market share. But all in all, you do want to be in a space that's going up. And if you break down B2B, there are spaces that are going up. If you look at B2B e-commerce is all of a sudden seeing 10 to 20% CAGR. That is going up, right? People before, when it was kind of like, right, there was no like B2B like Amazon, right? If you were to buy bulk, right, you would still do invoices, it would be slow, right? All of a sudden, the B2B players that are doing e-commerce, making that very convenient, they're seeing huge growth. Anything in AI, of course, is seeing huge growth as well. So there are segments of growth, even though overall, it's basically growing with inflation. Also, this was very interesting, so I decided to put this in here. B2B consumers are now expecting similar services that they're getting for B2C, right? So like on Amazon, you do this, one-click checkout, it's so convenient, but kind of like you're thinking, oh, okay, but B2B is not like that. So if I'm going to order 1,000 SmartSites polos, I didn't expect an immediate response. I expect a quote form, long form doesn't really make sense, a phone call the next day, right? But all of a sudden, hey, B2B players are expecting this. And even a very recent example, I was ordering coffee for this event today. You Googled, there it is right there. He Googled, coffee caters Washington DC, and what he found, the first few was quote forms. Well, he needed to order right away. He called them. They said, "We'll get back to you," right? And literally, he ended up ordering the first one that actually let him order online, right? And that's where we got the coffee. So you could really see, right? People before didn't expect, the same experience B2B to B2C, but more and more they do, and really, that gap is a very interesting one. Okay, how is B2B doing marketing? They are doing marketing around 2/3 of B2B at some level outsource their marketing. They look for an outside agency, like SmartSites. Some do it in-house. Most do it both, right? You have a director of marketing in-house, and that director of marketing then goes out and finds agencies, and that's usually kind of how we work. A huge percent, 94% of people who outsource their marketing, and outsource not necessarily overseas, it's looking for agencies like us, are happy with the effectiveness of marketing. The number one reason why people don't do marketing in the B2B space is strategy and execution, which actually last year, for so many years, was actually time and resources was the reason, but now that's not even the reason. I guess you have time and resources, but people lack the strategy and execution. So for the consultants out here, right, that's kind of something to keep in mind. That's really what companies are missing, that strategy and execution when it comes to marketing. They have the money to invest, they have the time and resources, but they feel like they're missing that strategy part to really kick things off. All right, it takes a village. So you're going to see this theme in a lot of my slides. So, the metaphor I like to use before, a shoemaker would make a shoe, right? One person would make a whole shoe. The whole shoe was like 5 to 10 pieces. That shoemaker would then have an apprentice. That apprentice would then become the next shoemaker. They made all pieces of the shoe. Now, there is no one person in the world that can make a shoe. Right? It's made from different countries, right? Different places, different vendors. Right? And that's kind of like the world we live in today. So when you talk about digital marketing, you talk about SEO and pay-per-click and that space, you really do need a team. When I started, that picture of me, when I started, there was a term called webmaster. It means that it's one person who did everything on your website, right? I would build the website, design the website, code the website, and market the website. It was all me, right? I went to businesses saying like, hey, can I do this for you? Again, that was me, a webmaster, and they would even ask like, hey, help me with the printer, right? Now that's not the case. You really do need a village. There's not one person, no matter how brilliant you are, that does absolutely everything. Okay. You think things are simple, but then you see a huge decision tree for every single thing. Every single line of code you build, if you're a developer, if you're designers, every single element, right, has so many decisions, and that really shows why you need specialists. Okay, we're trucking along because we don't have that much time. SEO, we're going to start with the basics. There's a lot of myths online, a lot of misinformation when it comes to SEO. So really the Bible, the gold star is Google's SEO Starter Guide. You can Google it. If you're wondering like what should I do in this case, that's what you should reference, because a lot of people say the wrong things, and then, by the way, AI picks up the wrong things that other people said, and then just reiterates the wrong things. Right? Google is still by far the most dominant in the search space, and Google, you don't have to guess what Google wants. They already tell you in their starter guide. If you have a website, also make sure it's on Google Search Console and Big Webmaster Tools. Big Webmaster Tools gives you some insights actually that Google Search Console doesn't. I was talking to the head of Big Webmaster Tools, and when they were building it, they said, hey, I'm joining Google Search Console. What is Google Search Console lacking that we should build into Big Webmaster Tools? And one of them is actually the search queries that people search to find your site. You don't get that much data of it in Google Search Console, but Bing said, ooh, I'm going to add this data because Google doesn't have it, so you really do need both. Lots of keyword research tools out there, a lot of tools that want to sell you on, right? The best tool out there, really cool, you don't have to pay anything for, is Google Keyword Tool, Google's Keyword Planner. The trick though is they put it inside Google Ads. So you got to sign up for Google Ads. You don't even have to spend money in Google Ads. You just have to sign up for Google Ads, and then you can use the Google Keyword Planner, and they give you, again, all these tools like guess search volume, Google search volume. Well, you have to guess Google literally tells you, right? So use that. Yeah, that's all I'll say here. Okay. Another piece of SEO of ranking high in Google is building links. So we kind of say, I've heard maybe Google is a popularity contest. The more sites that link to you, the more sites that reference to you, the higher you are on Google. If you have, the sexiest website with 10,000 pages and amazing content, but absolutely no one links to you, Google doesn't know about it, you will not be on Google, right? Likewise, if you flip that, if I have this like one-page website, it ranks for one keyword, and I have a million sites linking to you, I'll be on top of Google for one keyword, which also won't give me much at all. So you really need both pieces when you're looking to take advantage of search. You need a big, beefy website with lots of keywords, lots of content, and then you need other sites to link to you. Yeah, here's some ways you can get links. A big one is, and the one I'll highlight here, not because we are here, Clutch, is Clutch, right? You want to submit yourself to directories such as Clutch. It's a B2B marketplace. If Clutch has a category, has your category in it, you could already do it if you haven't already. If it doesn't, maybe you could still call them up and say, hey, why don't you have this category at your website right now? I'd love to be in it. But not only does it actually a link, not only do you get traffic from it, but it's really, really good when it comes to AI. So I asked Google what are the best SEO companies for small businesses, and SmartSites is on top. And why, how does Google know that SmartSites? How do they know? They're right, but how do they know that we're the best SEO company for small businesses? And that's because, right, it tells you right here, hey, this is where we got it from, because you're on Clutch, right? And you're also on Design Rush, also B2B marketplace. So a lot of these places, they really help not only get you higher on Google, but also drive your referral traffic, also feeds into AI. Okay, site content, more is more. When you are building a website, you really want to, dissect what you have into as many things as possible, right? So all of a sudden, this example from FreshBooks, right? FreshBooks has pages for all the companies that they serve. So they say, hey, we are accounting software for lawyers. We're accounting software for accountants. We're accounting software for consultants. Right? And they have a page, for each use case, and then they have some specific benefits. Maybe the lawyer's testimonial is on the lawyer page. So even though the accounting software is exactly the same, right? There's no different process you go through. The invoice is not different at all. Yet they have a page for each thing. So you have a page for each benefit, for each use case. I was talking to Craig over there who does painting, for commercial painting, right? All of a sudden, he said, hey, painting for hospitals, right? Painting for nursing homes, painting for this. And again, maybe like a picture, like, hey, here, we painted for a hospital. The person at the hospital said, we're absolutely amazing, right? Now all of a sudden, someone goes to Google, they go to ChatGPT, they say, hey, I'm a hospital, I'm looking for a painting company, what's a reliable painting company in the area that can help me? If you don't have a page for it on your website, right, Google will not show you for it, AI will not know that you paint hospitals, so you need to be thinking of that way. Also, also like service areas too, right? Hey, we service these areas. We're in DC, we're in Baltimore, we're here, we're there. If you don't say it, how will people know? All right, address objections in your content. Yeah, when you look at content and what do we say? A really clever thing is to see the one-star reviews, right? The bad reviews of that, of your niche and address that. So, I go to Clutch and I look for app development because we don't do app development. So, here's a, bad review for a big app development company. It basically says, hey, I paid them a lot of money and I didn't hear back for many months, right? And then, I contact them and they had nothing ready and I wanted my money back, they didn't give it back, right? So all of a sudden, if I'm writing content, right, for app development, I'm definitely addressing what we do for the first few months, right? I'm definitely gonna say, hey, listen, you're gonna get real-time updates, right? You're gonna get maybe weekly updates, maybe the payment schedule is staggered, right? And also make sure you do that, don't just write about it. Review highlights, again, this is from Clutch. This is their AI overview of those same reviews. Room for improvement in initial communication. Again, if I'm an app development company, I'm making sure that I address that. I say, hey, listen, we're gonna over-communicate, right? And we're gonna use this communication, this scope, and we're gonna talk this often, and I'm gonna put in the content, I'm gonna make sure we do it. So again, if you're looking about what to write, how do you address objections, look for one-star reviews. By the way, if you're in e-commerce, it's even better. In e-commerce, you go on Amazon, hey, luggage, right? I want to make a suitcase, I'll make luggage. You type that into Amazon, you look at the one-star reviews, you're probably going to see something like, oh, this zipper is flimsy. So all of a sudden, if I'm designing luggage, I'm like, all right, I got to make a really good zipper, and I want to talk about how good my zipper is, because everyone who writes a one-star review for luggage talks about a bad zipper, right? All right, service comparisons. Yeah, this is neat, especially if you're new, right? But this right here is MailChimp's example, right? So MailChimp has a page for each of their competitors. So this, if I Google, was it Constant Contact alternatives, right? Or Constant Contact versus MailChimp, I see that, right? And this page convinced me that MailChimp is better than Constant Contact. They have a testimonial of someone who switched from Constant Contact to MailChimp. They also have a comparison table of how they're better. Right, if I go to Google and I say what's better, Constant Contact or MailChimp, it's actually going to say MailChimp is better, here's why, and it's going to reference MailChimp as an example. It's a little more neutral than that. It's like, oh, better for different people for different reasons, but then it was like, okay, and then you read it, okay, obviously MailChimp is better, and what are the reasons are from MailChimp's own website. And again, it's like the way AI delivers content, like you trust it because you think it's like third party unbiased. So even though it took it from MailChimp's own website, it switched around a little bit, it mixed around, and all of a sudden you read it from MailChimp and you're from AI, and you think it's unbiased and you trust it. Okay, cool. Blogging still works. So if you look at what percent of AI is search, right now it's around, not too much, 7%. In a few years, expect to be around 14%. So it's still small, but it's going up. I just put blogging still works. The other content we talked about, let's say, is like primary, and then kind of like once you exhausted that, you can go to blogging, and it works and also feeds into AI. Okay, want more client, get more reviews. Reviews are really, really big part of it. Clutch is a very big player. Again, if you're a business that makes sense for Clutch, go on Clutch and get reviews on Clutch. And actually, I'll give a quick personal story. We recently got a review bomb, SmartSites did. So we got a contact form, we got a message that says, listen, pay us $2,000 or we're going to write one-star reviews about you. And we were like, all right, we're obviously not doing that, no thank you, right? And the person they were trustworthy as if they lived up to their promise. The next day, we got 7 one-star reviews on Google, right? And it was like, it's so obvious too, it was like the same second, same 7 people, right? Their mistake, by the way, and I got lucky because they made a mistake. Out of the 7, 6 of them, all but one, kept their other reviews private. They forgot to keep one of their accounts reviews private. I was able to go in, and this guy, they left like 61-star reviews same day. And I checked any other business that they left 1-star reviews for, it's the same 7 people leaving 1-star reviews for these 60 businesses, right? And I was like, holy crap. A lot of agencies, right? And also a lot of things like cookie points, which I felt bad for. I'm like, all right, like agencies maybe deserve it, I don't know, but cookies, like cookie points, are you kidding me? Anyways, I mean, we contacted Google, we filled out lots of reports, it was off, but it made me think like, man, like with Clutch that would never happen because Google accepts the review and then you fight it and then later they might take it off. And by the time they take it off, AI Ray picked it up and thinks it's real. Clutch actually is very good about moderating reviews. So all of a sudden, like that would never happen on Clutch because they said, oh, obviously you didn't work for SmartSites, where's the proof? They didn't, that would never come up. Also, really cool, a little self-promotion. We're launching soon grades.com. It's review management. It helps you get reviews, helps you respond to reviews, helps you get negative fake reviews off. We're also doing this really cool feature that absolutely no one else has where, pretend you have a website, you have many pages, and you have, I don't know, different services. I don't know, you're a consultant, you say, hey, I consult for, schools or something. And it looks for all your reviews, and if you have any reviews that, it is a school, it shows those reviews in that page, right? Or like, anyway, so it shows you the reviews of the page on your website. So if it's your website, it will show the use of the reviews that is most relevant to that page, not just like your most recent Google reviews that have nothing to do with the service that the person actually wants. No one else is doing that, we're gonna do it. We're not ready yet, we're a couple months away, but you can join the wait list. Okay, grades.com, do it. Okay, social media, cool. Average American spends over 2 hours a day on social media. If you are average, if you're one of those, you do not need these stats to tell you that how effective social media is. I'm not much of a social media user. I use LinkedIn a little bit, that's it. So, if you're like me, you do need the stats to know how powerful social media is, but most don't. Okay, when we look at social media, we see it as 2 ways, right? We look at it in 2 different ways. Influencer marketing, that's finding other people that are on social media to talk about your brand, right? So that's bringing someone else in with, followers, and they talk about you, and they collaborate and all that, and all of a sudden it gets people to your brand, maybe even to buy, it increases your followers, and then it's the organic social media, actually using your channels and the audience that you do have. I got quick examples for each one. Ooh, this play. No, yeah, can you click that? Oh, there's audio to it. Okay, we don't need audio, that's fine. Yeah,
did it in literally 3 minutes, which is crazy to me, but the actual interface.
We don't have extra 30 seconds. Okay, cool. This is a client, they build apps for AI, right? One of those, if you want to build an app, you use their AI, that AI will be building an app. They're doing influencer marketing through us. This influencer, this one specifically, has around 400,000 followers, 20 million likes. The cost for him to do this video and distribute it is much cheaper and faster than you would get a professional video production company to do this video, right? And not only do you get this video, and now you can use it also for ads and stuff. Post in its own channel, it's very trustworthy. People trust, B2B buyers trust influencers. It makes sense, right? It's like, you're on the screen for over 2 hours a day, you keep seeing the same face, right? You trust this face more than like a corporate white paper or some a corporate commercial that they put together, right? You trust this person you've been seeing every day. People trust B2B influencers. It's like with B2C, with fashion, makeup, influencer marketing is a little saturated. Not with B2B. B2B, there's a lot of arbitrage there. Tip, when you work with influencers, some don't give you ownership of the content. You really want that. That's super valuable. Make sure they give it. Okay, organic social media strategy. So these bullet points, my team went to social media marketing world, social media world, earlier this year. It was like $1,000 per ticket. They came back, and I'm like, okay, what did you learn? And they gave me these bullet points. So I was taking $1,000 in the trip. Here are the bullet points. So people are talking about post mix. When you're doing your own content, you want to be informative much more than you want to actually be editorial, right? So make sure you deliver value, much more than you're actually promoting it. That's a big thing. I don't know if this is going to stick. People in the industry, they're using the term now, return on conversation. Hey, how much did you spend for how much engagement you got? I don't know if that's going to stick, but we're trying to make it stick. Anyway, okay, cool. Paid advertising. All right. paid advertising is ripe for B2B growth. Yeah, so if you look at the market, B2B is more than double than B2C, right? If you look at digital ad spend, B2B is less than B2C, right? So it's like, there's so much more arbitrage, there's so much more leverage in digital marketing when you talk about B2B. And we see that everywhere. Transactional channels, Google, Bing, Amazon, those are channels that that is intent, right? Like, hey, I need to, I'm looking for a cleaning company for my office, right? You're like, I need to buy right now, they just quit, their office is bad, like, we're looking to replace the company, right? They need something right away, that's transactional. And then there's discovery channels, I put just LinkedIn, but also Meta. Meta's not so much B2B, but you could also do B2B and Meta. So that's like, you have the audience, you say, hey, I'm looking at C-level executives in this area with this job title at this company, but I don't know if they're actually looking for this service right now. So, and there's different strategies for both, and sometimes, people start with Google and they're like, oh, let me try LinkedIn with the same thing I did for Google, and it's like, well, no, it's not the same thing. It's like, you got the right person, but it's not the right time. So all of a sudden you're trying to like sell something right now, but like, no, like, they're not looking for cleaners right now. Maybe they will in 2 years, but they're not right now. Okay, cool. The power of search advertising. Yeah, so like I said, high intent, high conversion, it's very predictable, right? You say, hey, this is what we're getting, and if you find that sweet spot, your client value is greater than your customer acquisition cost, and then you go in and say, okay, let's double it or triple it, right? You have that faucet when you talk about pay-per-click. A lot of people forget about Microsoft. Microsoft is much less volume, but practically it's the same thing, and it's like twice cheaper, especially for desktop, which is most B2Bs on desktop. Also, older people tend to be a little bit older, so if your audience is a little bit older, if they're on desktop, don't forget about Microsoft. It's usually so much cheaper than Google. Okay, cool. When you're in Google, you have a lot of bidding strategies. There's one that's called Performance Max. So you go there and you say, hey, here's the value that you're bringing to me. So if someone, they come in and this guy signs a $50,000 contract, you go to Google and say, okay, this person you gave me signed a $50,000 contract, right? Google says, okay, got it, right? Google knows, okay, I'm going to send you more of those people, right? And you keep feeding that. It's called Performance Max, and the more you feed it, the better it is. It's the best, but if you have the data, that's such a big caveat, especially when you're working B2B. It's really easy for B2C with e-commerce because of, the transaction happens right away. So this guy bought $50, this guy bought $100. You put that into right back into the algorithm. It gets better and better. With B2B, you could do it, but you need to have enough data. If you don't have enough data, don't even bother because you're just going to waste money with it. I'm not going to do that. It's cool. Same with Microsoft, by the way. The little picture is Google, but Microsoft has the same thing. Amazon ads. So there's a cool first mover advantage, I'll say. I think I'm not sure that they still might be in beta. We could access it. I'm not sure if you guys can. If you can't, talk to us. We could access it. So Amazon has a way for you to. Amazon has Amazon for Business, right? So you go in, it's like the same items, but you're buying for business, right? And the business owners tend to buy a lot more, right? I don't know, whatever it is, even like a box of M&Ms or something, right? All of a sudden, a family buys a box, right? If you're a business, you're buying 50 boxes, right? If you're government, if you're education, you're buying much more quantity. The return on investment, if you do Amazon Business, is much higher. So it's one of those things. Hey, do Amazon Business. If you're selling something in Amazon, they have Amazon Business. There's so much arbitrage there right now. Most companies are still not on it. Okay, cool. LinkedIn wins on the slow burn. Yeah, so it's what I talked about before. A lot of people, they try Google first and it kind of works, and they're like, okay, I'm going to try LinkedIn now. And they try what worked on Google and they try LinkedIn, and 99 times out of 100 that doesn't work. Make a purchase, schedule a consult, book a demo. That works when you're transactional. Hey, they're looking for this service right now. They need an accountant. Schedule a meeting, right? And you pitch them, right? But when we talk about LinkedIn, it's much more of a slow burn, right? It's more of like attend a webinar, attend an in-person event. Download a white paper, free preview. Here's one of our clients. We give them a preview of this book, and then they download the book, and they get the opt-in information, and then they get lots of emails, and eventually they can convert into a demo. So it's like twice cheaper than Google, but it has to be a different offer, right? You have to have all those things in place. You have to have that funnel. Click costs can get very high, though. By the way, even more than Google. I don't know why. you make a campaign, all of a sudden you're spending $20, $30 on a click on LinkedIn, and they're not even looking for a service. So, you know, a lot of people start with that and don't know what to do, and they just waste money and they stop. You know, LinkedIn has, like Google, they have many different strategies you could set. We use one that LinkedIn does not recommend, is manual bidding, because that's the only one we could go in and say, listen, I'm not going to pay more than $2 per click. And they have enough volume. But if you do another strategy, all of a sudden they're like, ooh, I'm going to charge this guy $10 per click, why not? They have audience signals, you know, they have the equivalent of Performance Max, but again, you need the data, and you're going to be spend a lot of money before it actually goes to data. You can get highly granular though. Hey, I want C-level executives, you know, from this group that are interested in alternative finance, you know, that live here, you know, you could get that, and again, you just need the right offer. You can keep content fresh too. Like with these guys, every quarter we have a new piece of content, because again, it's like, the person is not necessarily looking for a service right now. So you know, you gotta be there, you gotta stay there, you gotta be fresh. Maybe something else will catch your eye and eventually go, ooh, okay, I'm ready for this. And you're right there, like when they're ready for it. And that's how LinkedIn works. Okay, closing thoughts. Okay, cool. All right, pinpoint a growing niche or unique value proposition. Again, you know, to be honest, B2B is not like looking super sexy. So if you're in the space, you kind of know like, hey, you know, I gotta really differentiate, right? I gotta find that niche, you know, that's actually growing inside B2B. Not everything is growing. You gotta build your village. Again, you know, the smartest people cannot do themselves. It wasn't true before. Again, before it's like, you know, I was able to do all pieces of a website. Now my coders know much more about coding than I. My designers make much better designs than I do. Right? You need that village. You're not going to succeed without it. And it gets so like minute too. It's like, you know, we have a PPC department, and there's guys that know LinkedIn really well. There's guys that know Google Ads really well. There's not one person that knows all PPC the best, right? So like the more detailed you get, the more it's even important to specialize. Create strong multi-use content with proof. Reviews are really big. Get reviews on blogs. They're really good about helping you collect reviews, actually making sure they're authentic and valuable. Leverage social media for expansive reach. Again, there's a lot of arbitrage right now, especially for B2B. You know, like if you're in the fashion space and makeup space, you know, it's tough right now because it's so saturated. Everyone's trying to do it. If you're in that space, with B2B, it's not. So tap into it. And capitalize on paid channels, fast and slow. Again, just know the difference. Hey, this is transactional. This actually converts right away. That's what we're looking for. You know, like don't go to Google and be like, download this webinar. And it's like, hey, it's like I want cleaning. Oh, here's a cleaning webinar. It's like, no thanks. Like what? Right? They want to transact. You know, that's the moment they want to buy something. Right? That's the right offer. But when you come to discovery channels, you need to go a little slower because chances are they're not ready. Cool. If you're interested, if you want to talk to SmartSites, schedule a meeting, connect with me on LinkedIn. I know I spoke fast, and I don't think I'm going to take any Q&A. If you have questions, maybe hold it until happy hour, because I want to keep things rolling. But you guys are super attentive. Thank you so much.